8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Talk of the Town podcast. This is our pre-season review, shall we say, as we go into the new season here with Dunstable Town manager Steve O'Reilly. Steve, always a pleasure, mate. Getting used to interviewing you now on a weekly basis. Pre-season's done now. It's done and dusted in the books. How are you summing up your first full pre-season at Dunstable Town?
A challenge, and I think that's not unexpected either. So, it's been noted, obviously, that there's a big turnaround in terms of the squad. So we've only really retained a couple from last season. Quite a few lads have gone to go and play higher, which is great, and we're grateful for what they've done for the football club, and we wish them well in that journey. And so it's kind of necessitated that it's been a brand new squad that we've put together. So that side of things has been a bit of a challenge, and I don't know if I've ever had a pre-season where more lads have been on holiday for 2 weeks and cruises and all sorts of stuff. So to that, again, it's posed a little bit of a challenge in terms of trying to get a consistent team out, certainly for the games, and so building those relationships. But what I would say is that we're pleased with the lads that we've got through the door. There's likely that we'll still add a couple more as the next couple of weeks go on. But the attitude, the application has been excellent. We've learned a lot, which is really what pre-season's about. The lads have been gaining fitness in the games that we've been playing. So, yeah, look, you always want to be a bit further ahead than what you are, and that's just part of being a manager and wanting to progress. But I think, going into our first game on Saturday, we're pleased about where we are.
Where are we as a squad, would you say? And you spoke to me, I speak to you most weeks, but a couple of weeks ago, you were like, every week is a process. We're learning something new. Where are we as a squad now? As we start in 48 hours, we're going to be, our game's going to be done and dusted. Our first league game's going to be done. In your mind and in the coaching team's mind, are we close to where you want to be? Or is there still certain things in your mind that you're like, we're still going to have to be a work in progress as the season starts?
Yeah, I think that's always going to be the case. We're always going to be a work in progress. And I think as soon as we think that we've cracked it and we're settled and we're happy with what we've got, that's when we start moving backwards. So we're always going to be in the process of either needing to improve what we do as a team or as a coaching staff or as a club, or individuals that need to improve and develop and grow, and the teams and the unit that we play. So that's always going to be a work in progress. Am I satisfied where we are going into the start of the season? Yes, because I think we're going to be ready to go and compete on Saturday and challenge to go and get points. Do I think that we want to add more and improve and probably go a little bit quicker? Yes, I do. But my job is not just to look at where we are now. It's actually looking about where we need to get to, understand kind of the circumstances that we've had to face, and move ahead with that. There's no excuses in terms of what we do. I'm happy with the group that we've got, and I expect us to compete from the off.
Focusing on some of the positives though, it's good seeing some of these young lads that have come out of pre-season. We've mentioned a few times people like Luca and that have come from like college football and university football and stuff like that. Haven't looked out of place in a Dunstable Town team, in a non-league team. The Risborough game at home, I thought, just touching on that briefly, really stood out for me. Risborough, established side, had quite a few first-team players out there that day. We more than held our own. So does them kind of games say to you, when you do see games like last weekend, but maybe not at our best, but then you look at Risborough and you think, it's going to be us. We were chatting to some fans the other day, and I mentioned to you a few times, it's going to be a very patient game with us as supporters, with yourselves as coaching staff, and I think these young guys, they're going to play with no fear. Yeah. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing sometimes?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good thing. Look, one thing that I'd say, for all the challenges I think that we face, they're no different to what everyone else faces, right? They're just it's slightly different because we've had to kind of build a brand new group. So that type of thing is that it's just expecting it to gel straight away. It's just not always going to happen. But I think anyone who's watched the games, and they've all been very different types of games, what has been clear is that we've established a style of how we play, and actually that these boys have bought into that. There's been some really excellent individual performances through that, and so that's why I can sit back and look at it and go, am I happy with the 16, 17, 18 lads who are now kind of confirmed in the door and ready to compete for us on Saturday? Yes, and I think that we're going to be in a good position to go and, like I say, to win games of football. That process that you go through pre-season, if we're not learning, and if it was too easy and everything just went smoothly, I don't know how much I'd have learned about the lads through that process, you know. So I want to see these lads challenged and face a little bit of adversity and those moments that are a little bit difficult, because we're going to have those through the season. Every team does. But actually, by having a couple of them through pre-season, you get to learn about these boys. I've been really pleased with their attitude and their application around that, and their willingness to improve. So yeah, like there is going to be need for patience at times, and these lads are going to make mistakes. But actually, I've seen enough that says that I want us to be ready to go and win the game of football on Saturday. So I don't want there to be any dampening of expectation, but we will need to have moments where we go, okay, that's a lesson that we've got to learn. We just need to make sure we learn them quickly.
Yeah, I mean, last season, one of the things that we focused on a lot at Dunstable, it'd be interesting to see how you guys do as well. We had like blocks of 10. Joe always used to say to us, focus on these 10, focus on the next 10. And how do you approach, now as we're 48 hours away from the season, how do you approach that? Obviously, Colney Heath, Winslow, then the FA Cup, or are you just the cliche one game at a time? Does it change kind of the mindset when you've got such a new group? Because from years gone by, you might have gone, right, I know how these players are going to approach this. I know how they're going to react if we do lose or if we win 5-0. I know they're not going to get carried away. How does your mindset have to kind of change with a new group?
Yeah. So I think that we will look at it game to game. Now, from my perspective, the players individually, like we don't need to be worried about what's going on in 2 or 3 weeks down the line. I've got a view about where I want us to be at different points through the season and kind of the progress that I expect us to make. But if you just look at like where you want to end up, you're not putting in the process to get there. So for me, it's these lads applying themselves each and every time that they're here, really understanding the messages that we're trying to get across to them. You know, I've spoke with, a couple of people that we've had, we're going to go out there for our 9th training session today with this group. And then when you think that you've got lads who've come and gone and been on holiday and all those types of things, like the actual hours that we've had to work with the group, it's not crazy, not a mad amount. So, there are going to be areas that you're going to look for them to improve as we go on. But I think that, I look at it and I go, I expect us to improve game on game. That's really where I want the lads to have their mindset. I've got a view in terms of where I'd want us to be at certain points in time, but it's not about us going and setting super grand targets and then suddenly, we might lose a couple of games and then we go, oh, we can't reach that. Let's completely reset it. So it's about having a focus on session by session, game by game. And that's where we'll be. So our minds, certainly with the group today, we're not going to go focus much beyond Colney Heath on Saturday. We'll get the job done there. We'll be focused in terms of what we need to do, hopefully get the right result. And then we move on to Winslow. And then after that, the FA Cup game.
What do Colney Heath bring to the table on Saturday? What challenges will they bring Dunstable Town?
Yeah, so, a team that, obviously my time at Halfden last year, we faced a couple of times and were really tight games. And I know that the 2 games they played against Dunstable last year were really close games. So, there's a lot of similarities really between what Matty did last year at Colney Heath and certainly in terms of when he came in at the start to what we've had to face. He built a brand new squad together. A lot of young lads who were there initially, and I think they had some, bumpy moments maybe in the first half of the season, but you look at the way they finished, 7 wins in a row at the end of the season, team of the month in April, like they hit a groove. So that was a kind of a good little benchmark really for us to play first up. They're going to come full of confidence. They played a competitive game on Tuesday against London Colney, which they won. So they'll be a really good test for us. They'll be a proper Spartan test. And it'd be a really good place to judge what we've done so far in pre-season and where we are as a group. They've got some really quality players. And they've got some young lads that are high energy. So we're always going to need to match that first and foremost. But I'm still really confident in terms of the group that we've got here, that if we get the game plan right and our focus is right and our preparation's right, that we can go and get a result.
Does it feel a little bit different now as we've gone, me and you have spoke for the last 4 or so weeks, pre-season. Now the league campaign starts on Saturday. We're here at training at Creasy Park on a Thursday night. Obviously, I know from inside the camp, I already feel a little bit different. Saturday's a league game. How does it feel for you boys now? And what's the message to the lads? As we go out and train tonight, obviously people could be watching this tomorrow on Friday. Does the message kind of like change? Like, is it kind of, you had your pre-season, you've had, this is serious now on Saturday. There's 3 points up for stake. Does that focus slightly change at training tonight? I mean,
I don't necessarily think that our message will change dramatically. I think that naturally, though, everyone's going to know that there's points on the line on Saturday. There'll be a good attendance here. There'll be plenty of people here. It will be a good occasion. It's the first league game of the season. So all of those things will come into play. And, I'm not naive enough to think that they won't. And so we will plan for that and we'll be mindful of it. But, I don't want the way that we operate to be conditional against who our opponents are against. Like, we want to be consistent in how we prepare and how we communicate with the lads. And I expect lads to give their best and prepare themselves best for every time we play, every time that we train. There will be differences. So, it's not going to be at half time. I'm not going to go, well, actually, you write 7 subs and I'm going to go and find out about new players. So there's not going to be that kind of experimentation that you might get through pre-season games. We've got a clear idea about how we'll set up on Saturday, what the team will be, the changes that we'll have in mind during the game and how that'll impact what we do. So those type of things obviously are different, but, my job's to be consistent and to not kind of fluctuate in the way that I communicate with these lads game to game and result on result. It's about building a consistent message and, again, finding ways to, put ourselves in the best position for these lads to perform on the day.
How much does mentality come into it as we go into Saturday? We've mentioned it loads of times. We've got a young team, but how much does a mentality come in? Some of these lads haven't played this step before. Some have. You can lean on a few of the, like Joe Hankin. You can lean on players like him, James, etc. in midfield. How much of a mentality will it be for these guys to get around these lads in the change room on Saturday and go, hey, look, this is real now. This is what we're going to be doing week in, week out.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that is important, and that is why we have players like Joe in the team and James and Jamie, and you've got those lads who do bring that experience, and that's what you want in the group, and for them to be leaders. And I think that, I expect to see that from them. But then there's young lads who bring those qualities as well. I look at someone like Luca, who, we spoke about. He's come from, playing at MK College over the last couple of seasons.
Doesn't look out of place at all.
But everyone who would have seen him so far, and it's not just his performance level, it's actually the way that he carries himself on the pitch, the standards that he sets in training, the way that he communicates with people. Like, he can be a leader as well for us in those moments. So, I expect those lads to contribute in that way. But, the mentality of the group will be that we're really focused on Saturday to go and win the game. And, you speak about the Risborough game, which I felt was a really good kind of benchmark for what Spartan football is going to look like this season. And we handled ourselves really well with that. So yeah, I expect the mentality is always important. First game of the season, there might be a few nerves from a few people. And so you are looking, again, how those leaders in the group kind of, make sure that everyone in the group's focused in terms of what they're doing. But then that's also our job as well as the management. So, I expect there'll be some challenges, and there'll be challenges on Saturday. It'll be, kind of how quickly we can overcome those on Saturday and adjust, and the lads adapt to the level. But I don't really have any concerns from that front. I just want to put these lads in the best position on Saturday to be able to go and perform at their best and us to win the game.
How excited are you for your first official game, first team manager at Dunstable Town? Yourself, Swanee, Rich, Liam, myself, Steve, we're all looking forward to Saturday. But for you personally, what will it mean to you to lead out a Dunstable Town team? Yeah,
a lot. And I think that, obviously it's been a tough week for the club, obviously, with the news of Gareth. And, I kind of touched on that a little bit in my programme notes for those who'll get a chance to read those this week. And, the sense that I've got of the club, over the last, 3 months is that it's a fantastic club. There's amazing people here, and we're here to represent that on the pitch. So I carry that responsibility, and it means a lot to me. So, my mind won't be kind of diverted on the day. It's about, again, trying to make sure that we go and get the right result. But it is a proud moment for me. I'm very proud to be the manager of this football club. I want us to do well for all the people that put so much time and effort and support this club. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it more than anything. It's exciting. I often say it's probably actually one of the only games of the season I get really nervous for, the first game of the season, because it kind of validates a lot of the work that you've done, and you want to get off to a good start. But once the whistle goes on Saturday, kind of that the focus will be on what we do for that 90 minutes. But yeah, certainly it's a really proud moment for me, and I know that I speak for the management team as well. We're all really excited by it.
Yeah, talking of management there, obviously, Steve, you touched on it. The sad passing of Gareth Jackson this week. A great, really good friend of mine. Beat me many times at golf, shall we say. Very good golfer. Tragically lost his life this week. Obviously, we're going to do a minute's applause on Saturday. I just want to echo what everyone said from the football club, how sad we are to his friends, to his family. Really tragic news that we heard this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, those moments, and, I touched a little bit earlier on about adversity, it's a really tough moment that a lot of people have gone through in this club, and I've seen the impact of it. But it's actually also brought out some really amazing characteristics of people here, and the community element of what this club is, and everyone supporting each other. And so, yeah, look, really tremendously sad news. like, I can't think of a better tribute though that we can do for him than on Saturday going out and putting a really strong performance out there and showing what Dunstable Town means to all of these people. And I know that it meant a lot to Gareth as well. So yeah, like really sad news. And you know, obviously my thoughts go out obviously as well to his family and all his friends. I think that, like I say, it's really kind of inspiring though to see the impact that he had at this club, and it shows what this club is really about, that people speak about him with so much affection. And as I said, I think that, you know, I'll mention it to the boys. The lads will understand on Saturday what that really means. And like I say, we'll go out there and try and represent that in the best way possible.
Yeah, well said, mate. Just finishing up, last few. How's the squad shaping up for Saturday? I know we had maybe a couple of injuries last Saturday. I know Mel picked up a little knock. Obviously didn't play on Tuesday. How are we shaping up for Saturday? Yeah,
so I think that we're probably 14, 15 of the lads I know, absolutely. We'll have a couple that will be seen by the physio today, and if they clear themselves through training, that they'll likely be involved on Saturday. So yeah, it's really difficult. It's probably that first time that I'm going to have to really say to people, a couple of lads, you're not quite in the 16 this time. So those are obviously difficult conversations, but I think they're good conversations to say that actually we've got to the point now where the competition is there in the group, and there is a fight for some of those shirts. So yeah, pleased with it. Like I say, a couple that we just need to kind of see how their fitness goes, and make sure they get through training okay today. And as long as they do that, then we'll be in a good place for Saturday.
To steal something from one of the NFL podcasts I watch, it's usually Washington win if. For those that know me, I'm a big Washington fan. Dunstable Town win if.
Yeah, I think if we don't make mistakes, and you know we play a clean game in that sense, and I think that, you know, if we really trust the ability that these lads have got, and they trust themselves and go out there and, you know, give their best, play to the game plan that we've got, we'll get a win.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, speaking as someone that's had the pleasure of coming down to all the training sessions and helping you out a little bit, I don't think I've seen a coaching team as meticulous as you guys are. So I know that the team going onto the pitch on Saturday, if they follow the letter that you guys have set them, I think we'll be fine. I think that the work that everyone around the league is looking at us because of what's gone on, and because, you've lost this player and that player. Does that add anything to you personally? That, not to prove a point, probably the wrong word, but I know when I speak to me and Matt and we get constant messages about, how are Dunstable now doing? And I'm like, funny how you're asking. You know, some people generally are asking how we are. But does that add anything to the game on Saturday, or is it for you? It's like, it's just a game of football. It's 3 points. Let's just go.
Yeah, I think if we kind of get affected too much by outside noise, I don't think that detracts from the work that we do. Like, ultimately, everyone's at the same position at the start of the season. You know, all the talk, and there is a lot of talk that goes on all the time. Like, that's not really, doesn't influence the game until we get onto Saturday and we play. So the real judgment in terms of how we are and where we're going will be after how many points we pick up after a certain point in time in the season. That's when you can probably be judged by what we do. So yeah, look, there's no added extra motivation. The only motivation that we've got is just trying to win games of football for this football club, you know, and these lads improving and developing as we go. So I don't think that if we need that type of external motivation, then we're not doing our job right. You know, our focus isn't in the right place. So yeah, like I say, I think that all we'll be focused on Saturday is winning game, and it's for Dunstable Town. It's not for anyone else. Yeah, well, if the 11 that take the field on Saturday match the work ethic that you guys have put in pre-season, behind the scenes and at training, mate, we'll be fine this season, mate. So good luck, mate, and I'll catch you on Saturday. Fantastic.
Cheers, mate. That's been the Talk of the Town podcast. Make sure you check us out on Twitter at DTFCPod. But till next time, everybody, up the mighty Blues.